So you're ready to start a podcast, but you need the how. Today, you're in luck. I'm going to be going through in 10 minutes or less how exactly you can start your own podcast within the next 30 days. Get a notebook and pen. Let's go. Hi, I'm Stephanie Gass, and I have a top 20 podcast that I was able to grow from scratch. And it took me less than 30 days, actually less than 3 weeks, to launch my podcast and get it into the world. Within 12 months, my podcast was producing six figures. Within 36 months, it was a $500,000 business driver. And now today it's a 7-figure driver. Podcasting is what's up. But before a podcast can make money, we've got to bring it into the world. The worst thing you can do is stay stuck in indecision, stay frustrated with the how. I'm going to help you get unstuck right now so that your dream of having a podcast can actually become a reality. All right, it's week 1, and we are going to plan your podcast. The very first thing we need to do is define your niche. I think the most critical thing you can do is get clear about what your podcast is going to be. I teach my students the micro niche method, where you choose a segment of the market, an identifier, and a who within your market. For example, it could look like relationships, and then it could be newlywed communication coaching, and then the who might be newlyweds within their first 12 months of marriage. Now, when you have that really dialed in niche, you're going to be able to speak to it much more clearly. The second component in week 1 that you are going to focus on is to identify that target audience. So if it's newlyweds within their first 12 months of being married, what does that look like? Who are they? What are they experiencing? What are the pain points that they are really going to Google and looking up? What do they need help with when it comes to communication? You're going to really workshop that, because that's going to give you your third thing you're going to do in your first week of planning, your content plan. We're going to take the who, we're going to take that demographic, we're going to take those pain points, and we're going to come up with your first at least 3 to 10 episodes. But often what I see happen for my students is, as we're doing this content brainstorming work, they end up walking away with anywhere between 20 and 50 podcast episode ideas, which, bonus tip, if you want to pop those into some type of task management system, my favorite is MeisterTask or Asana or Monday, or even an Excel sheet. You're going to be able to start building out your podcasting content plan from week 1. All right, in week number 2, it's time to set up your podcast. The very first thing we're going to do is choose a name and get your branding done. So I teach my students how to strategically optimize a podcast title. Really, what you need to think about is being found, being searched. So instead of free and happy as a podcast title, we might have something like relationship coaching for newlyweds. See the difference there? The other thing you need to do is get podcast art. It's a non-negotiable, friend, to get really amazing professional podcast art curated. I'll go ahead and leave the link below to my graphic designer here for you. It's at stephaniegass.com/graphic designer, and you can snag one of our podcast templates. Or you can go to somewhere like Fiverr or Upwork and get a podcast cover art made. Please do not make this yourself unless you are a graphic designer. It's that critically important. Now, the next thing you're going to do in your second week of planning and launching your podcast is you're going to get your equipment. Now, as you can see, I'm using a fancy mic. This is the Rode PodMic USB, which we'll link down below for you. But I actually have my students, often those who are on a budget as they get started, begin with the Yeti Blue podcast microphone. I had that mic for 5 years and I had absolutely no problems with it. And optional are some headphones. So again, all those links will be below. And might I even recommend that you grab my podcast launch checklist. It has every step I'm going through for you right now so that you can print it. This checklist is going to take you through every single step of launching your podcast. Every link that I'm mentioning here in the video is inside the checklist. You can print it, you can save it on your computer, and you can make podcasting really simple. Head to stephaniegass.com/checklist. Let's take the guesswork out of this. Now, the next thing you're going to do in week 2 is you're going to record a few things. Don't fret. This is okay. You're okay. Deep breath. We're going to record an introduction for your podcast. This can look something like this. Hi, friends. If you are a newlywed who is struggling to communicate with your brand new spouse, because spoiler, when you get married, it gets real, I want you to rest easy, because this podcast is here to support you in your communication journey from a God-centered perspective. Welcome to Communication with Newlyweds podcast with Mary. Let's dive in. Guys, something like that. Very simple, very easy. The second thing you're going to record are your first 3 podcast episodes. This is very simple. These can be less than 10 minutes. Honestly, you can keep it really streamlined and simple as you get started. Number one is usually your story. The second episode is their number one pain point they're experiencing right now. And the third thing is typically something that you can help solve within that pain point. So for example, I may have episode 2 be something like number one tip to clear communication with your spouse when it comes to home routines, or 3 reasons you keep miscommunicating with your new husband, or if you keep bickering with your new spouse, stop doing this, something like that. Now, again, inside my checklist, you're going to get a much deeper dive into all of these little items that I'm walking you through. So be sure that you are going through every single line item on that checklist. All right, week number 3, we are going to upload and get our podcast actually set up and launched, okay? And we're gonna start that launch process. So if you haven't already done your cover art, you're gonna make sure that's finalized. You're gonna get signed up with podcast hosting software. We use Podbean over here. Again, in the checklist, we have a link for you to save a month off of your Podbean subscription. And you're gonna need to upload your first 3 episodes. So if they're ready to go, they're ready to go. Now, if you haven't edited them or you want to edit them, you're at least going to need to splice in the intro with your actual recording. You can use free software like Audacity or Rock Band to do a quick and easy edit. And if you're interested, I have a podcasting course that teaches you how to edit your podcast yourself, how to set it up, how to put a podcast SEO into the title, how to choose your category, and how to get it cast out in the podcasting space of the interwebs with one click of a button. If you're interested in my podcasting course, head to podcastprouniversity.com, and that will teach you how to edit. But you're going to make sure you edit those 3 episodes in week 3 and get them uploaded into your software, okay? Now, I would have these launch all 3 at the same time. We want to give our brand new listener something to binge listen to so that they're not listening to one episode and then forgetting about you, but they're really getting hooked on your podcast and they're subscribing, okay? So all of that recording and uploading is going to happen in week 3. The last thing you have to do in week 3 is get your launch list prepped. So sit down with a sheet of paper or something online like an Excel sheet and begin writing out all the people that you consistently text message with, send messages to, communicate with online and social media, moms in your MOPS group or your church group or the classroom helpers that you know, like literally anybody. And we're going to try to make a list of at least 25 people. Bonus points if you can hit 50 people. That list is going to be your launch list, which takes us into week 4, where we are going to launch and market your podcast. In week 4, you're going to go ahead and click that publish button on your podcast, and you're going to start texting your launch list. Hey, Bob, I just launched my show. Do you mind leaving me a quick 30-second review? It's going to help me bump up in the algorithm. Would you do it today? And you're going to send that message out to all 25 people, because the goal is to get a bunch of traction and a bunch of activity happening on your podcast within a 24-hour period of time. And I have a full launch framework for you inside of my checklist, and I have a huge actual launch plan for you inside my course. So again, checklist is free, stephaniegast.com/checklist. Course is paid if you really want me to hold your hand through this podcasting process, podcastprouniversity.com. So 2 ways I can help you. Audible learning is only exploding. I truly believe that this is where the future is going. People are tired of the visual stimulation. We're tired of the algorithm. We want to be able to listen while we go and actually take a mental break, take the load off. And here's the reality is that I'm seeing the majority of sales, not just for me, but for all of my students coming through the podcast. That is where conversion is happening. So if you're interested in actually making money from a podcast, you got to have one in the world. Don't worry about making it perfect. Just worry about getting it launched. We can help you optimize after the fact. So happy podcasting, friend. I'm so pumped. Be sure and you comment below. Let me know that you got your checklist and let me know what your podcast is going to be called. I cannot wait to have a little conversation with you down below the video and see how we can take it to the next step. All right, loves, I'll see you soon. Bye. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more videos just like this so you don't miss it. And be sure that you have checked out all the ways that I can support you by heading over to stephaniegast.com. I've got some workshops for you, like the Podcast for Growth workshop, which is at podcastforgrowth.com. Or I've got some free checklists and quizzes for you. All of it can be found at stephaniegass.com. Lastly, if you haven't checked out my podcast, it is Online Business for Christian Women. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can also just look up my name, Stephanie Gass. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again soon. Bye.